Right. Second attempt. New mic, so hopefully this is me better. And new mic, new camera. So hopefully it'll be HD this time. We'll keep trying. Right. Don't listen to me when I tell you this is easy. Or it's just this, or it's just a scribble. The problem is that the whole the process of this, for a lot of people is predefined. So drawing portraits to a lot of people is a predefined process that they have in some way picked up, subconsciously or consciously picked up, and that's how it's done. So, and if you're looking at doing this and you're looking around the YouTube and the rest of it, you're going to be looking at things that meet your criteria. People are saying on here, this is, when I do this, and they're saying, oh, this is bad advice or whatever, because what I'd say doesn't meet with their perception of what it should be. And that's usually the case. It's usually the case when people talk to me about learning. A lot of people want to learn the way they want to learn, they don't want to learn the way they don't want to learn. So consequently, you're only going to be looking at things that meet your perception of what learning will be. And this is kind of, this is where the crux of everything lies. If your predetermined definition of what this entails is a certain way, then, whether it's anatomy or whether it's, some kind of geometry, whatever it is, then that's what you look for. And people will say it should be done this way, it should be done that way, and they'll also give you, this is the kind of outcome you should expect and all that sort of thing. And the problem is with all that you'll never be you in that case. You'll always be somebody else. And a lot of people can't happy with that, because as some people say on the comments, that they want to do it like somebody else. They've got a definite style in mind, and I'm always a bit dubious of the style thing, because the style is a consequence of your attitude and your approach, all those sort of things, not necessarily a chosen thing. But nevertheless, people have this idea that it must be this way, and they want it that way, and that's fine. But really, you shouldn't be listening to anybody who's telling you, me or anybody who's telling you, this is how it should be, or this is how you should do it. You should be listening to. You see, the thing is, if you're looking at doing this, you'll be absorbing things from all places without knowing it. You'll be absorbing things and picking things up and seeing things, and, making those sort of subliminal decisions. Without having to be told that it must be like this, and you must do it like this, and if you don't do it like this, then you're not very good, and all that. You will be picking all those things up anyway. So you don't really need to be told exactly how it should be done. You've got to really give in to the creative process. There's no doubt that doing it makes you better, but that's not practice. Practice is something that is the repetition of something full stop. That's not necessarily the right thing, because sometimes practice can be a bad thing. And that is, there lies a lot of the problems that people have, that they'll think, oh, I'll just keep drawing eyes and I'll get good at drawing eyes, and then I'll be able to draw faces, and the problem is that they get good at drawing one particular eye, and they get the habit of drawing an eye in a certain way, and all of a sudden every face is going to contain the same kind of solutions. So the problem there is that they're not listening to themselves. The best way to learn is just to keep doing it, but that isn't, as I say, that's not practice. So just keep doing it, and without listening to somebody else, decide on what the outcome is. Is it what you expected? Is it because the assessment, I did that thing about when we did this, the positive reflection thing. The process of deciding on whether or not you like something is such a difficult thing. As long as I'm happy with it, kind of thing. It's really difficult, because on what basis do you do that? Is it just comparison with others? I don't know. I mean, I kind of, I just think that it's more to do with the process of doing it than it is the actual outcome. There is a lot of in the moment decisions that I decide, oh, I like that for whatever reason. You know, when I was doing, we did this. Where's this other guy we did last night? This one. So in doing this last night in the lesson, I was using a chunky bit of charcoal, so you've got little or no control over this. So it becomes quite a bit ugly, if you know what I mean. The lines haven't got a lot of finesse in them, but there were things happening in the beard which were not intended. All this sort of thing here. I thought I like that, and you know, and it happens at the moment that I'm doing it. It's not necessarily part of a a grand plan that's where I'm going to arrive. It's just in the moment that I'm doing it. But the thing is that you can. It's fine to do that, but you have to be pure in your assessment. It can't be, oh, it looks like a so and so. It looks like how so and so would actually treat that particular a beard or whatever. You've got to be careful of those things. So whilst everybody's going to be telling you, oh, you must do it like this and you must do it like that, at the end of the day, you've got to do it the way you want to do it, not like I tell you or anybody else. I mean, my only objective is to say, do it your way. To give you the freedom to do it your way. And if it means a few tricks like the dots or the way that you would smudge something or where you try to choose references or whatever, that's nothing. They're not important. So you can figure that stuff out yourself. It's not really something that you need to sort of study. But other than that, the outcome is your outcome. With the students, it's always like I want to tell them that everything they do is fantastic. Because it is, and it's fantastic because it's their intention. They get bogged down with the concept of doing it, and I can see sometimes that it's like, there's a little bit of outside influences that are, because they might do other classes or they've done some kind of courses and things. So there's a little bit of interference from other people's thinking. But it's really a hard thing to do for both for me and for them, I suppose. It's a really hard thing for me to say. As long as you're happy with it, then it's fine. I think it's fabulous. But that's, as I said, it's very. It doesn't go along with the way that we're traditionally taught to do this. It's always going to have some criteria that it must meet. And the decision of these people that actually implement these criteria is kind of a yardstick by which we'd either measure ourselves or beat ourselves with. Sort of. This is the problem with yardsticks. You can either measure yourself or you can beat yourself with it, and sometimes it's the both. And but it's a very I don't know. It's a very difficult thing for me to sort of get across. A lot of people don't really get what I'm doing. They just think it's, and the sort of questions I get are all sort of production based. And really, if you knew me, I would, that I don't really care about the production or, how I create shadows or anything. I don't really care about any of those things. But it does sort of boil down to that for a lot of people because they've listened to what people say on the web. Or listen to a teacher or something, because it's somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's decisions on how it should be done and the right and wrong way of doing it and the right and wrong outcomes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just have fun doing this. And it's quite remarkable what happens. This is the thing. It's this is the one thing I want you to listen to that I say, which is just enjoy it. It's not about how well you can do something. In this case, it's not about how you can apply the techniques of some grandmaster. It's not about any of those things. It's about you. It's always about you. Any kind of art is always about you first. It's never about somebody else and whether or not somebody did something in order to create this, that, and the other. No one cares. I mean, it's just especially what we do. I mean, you know, if anybody gets to see my drawings, then it'd be a miracle, because it's not. They'll never be on exhibit. I'll never exhibit. So I mean, it's like it's never that intention. It's just me. It's just me having fun and enjoying it. So in terms of, I've never listened to anybody. I mean, I probably live my life by that rule: listen to no one. You know, and question everything except nothing, kind of sort of thing. But that's probably me. But it's still in a way, it's still a valid way of approaching things like this, because, as I said, if you're this is the thing, if you're into this and you're looking around and seeing what other people are doing, providing you don't seek to replicate, then chances are you're absorbing all the stuff that you need to know anyway. You know, when I'm making marks and when I'm doing this, you know, I'm not telling you that what I'm trying to do now is find the shape of the eye and all that rest. I'm not telling you those things, but you can see it, and it'll be absorbed into what you know, your subconscious. And then when you're drawing something, you'll be doing the same thing, not knowing that that's what's happened. And it'll happen with the other artists as well, when you're looking at other artists and what they're doing. So you don't need to be told. You don't need to listen to anybody. You just need to watch, I suppose, and look, because the biggest thing about I remember about when I first started, when I was doing the watercolors, the biggest thing for me when I was looking at Sargent's watercolors, because that was my this is me doing it wrong basically, but that was my thing. I wanted to be a watercolorist like Sargent. I didn't really, you know, sort of understand the possibilities. The thing is that, you know, you see somebody use watercolor like that and you think, oh, Winslow Homer, for instance, and you think, oh, that's kind of, you know, that's how it should be done. It is and it isn't. There is only one thing that should be done, and that is there should be pure creative expression. It should have the pure creative element to it. If it doesn't have that, then it's always going to be that labored, deliberate and overworked kind of feeling about it, which is often, you know, results in hyperrealism or one of those kind of art forms that are more about skill than they are about creativity. So you know, that's the downside to thinking in terms of technique and approach and all that sort of thing. But it's still, you know, you're still absorbing it, and that's basically what I was doing. And I think that a lot of, like I talk about the water, that when I paint in oils, that I paint like a watercolorist. I think it's there. I think that you can see that coming out in me there. It's not deliberate. I don't think in terms of how I'm going to do this. I don't think in terms of how I'm going to do this for anything. So I don't even think in terms of, somebody said about planning one of these. No, I think the worst thing I could do would be plan it, because the whole point is that it's an adventure. Somebody said the other day on one of I was watching a video, and fantastic, and he was talking about it being an adventure, and it's exactly that. It really is an adventure. It's probably one of those armchair adventures, or stool or whatever if you stood up. But that's it. I don't think that people get this. I keep banging on about this sort of mindset thing, and I don't think people are getting that. It's sort of, they're looking at me in terms of, oh, this is how you produce it. This is how, like the guy said about it being bad advice. It didn't really get it. You know, he didn't really get the idea of just simply learning to see better and then responding accordingly. You know, letting your emotions respond and drive the thing. I don't think I think that was lost on it. But this is the problem, I think. And I, you know, I'm my biggest enemy. I think this is the fact that I ramble on about things. And it just gets lost in the message, if you know what I mean. But I really think that people, if they could just allow themselves this freedom to do whatever they want, you know, the first thing you say, oh, but I don't know where to start. You know, that's the biggest thing. I don't know where to start. The worst place to start is in somebody else's shoes. That's the worst place to start, because you're always being in somebody else's shoes. You don't want to be there. You want to be in your own shoes. and really, regardless of what happens, you know, it may well be that it's not, what turns out is just, you know, just not anything spectacular, should we say. But who cares? You know, that's the thing. Yeah, no one cares how well or how you know amazingly magnificent your drawings are. No one cares, and those that do care, I suppose, are uh, people that may judge you. You know what I mean? Those are the people that will that make it. I mean, your mum and your dad, you know, your spouse and your kids are going to love what you do. So there's never any problem with that. But generally speaking, people have got another agenda in terms of assessing what you do. If you, because it can, they can never judge it from your vantage point. It's you that judges what you do and whether or not you feel that you've achieved it. This is the problem with portraits, though, because the portraits, with portraits it's always going to be about, oh, does it look like her? A bit. I think the eye's a bit wonky, and you get all that kind of rubbish. And I mean, you got to learn to sort of turn off from all that kind of thing, but because it's more destructive than anything else. As is, I mean, I always say that when I was teaching at the Montfort University, I used to say that you really be careful about who you get advice from or feedback from. You get feedback from the wrong people, and you ruin your life. Honestly, you could ruin your whole artistic career if you got the advice from the wrong people. So that's the problem. You see that on Instagram. You know, you get these people that comment on Instagram about your work, and you know, sometimes you gotta ignore all that, and even the good stuff. You know, even what you do is lovely, it's wonderful. You're a brilliant artist, so talented. You got to ignore all that. It's not gonna. There's no value in it at all. I don't really think that anybody is going to see your work like you see it. So you got to be prepared for that. So which means that you mustn't listen to anyone else. You mustn't listen to me. You mustn't listen to anybody else who says this is how it should be done and it has to be this good, because it's never going to be you. It's never going to be your voice in that assessment of what you're doing. So it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to do this. You've really got to have a single-minded approach to it. You've got to be prepared to fail. You know, that's in a traditional sense, because you can't really fail in a in the way that I'm talking. You can't really fail. You can only fail in the traditional way. So I can fail to render the nose properly. I can fail to get the eyes exactly right, or the highlights where they should be, or I fail to render the hair. But that's all by somebody else's rules. So I don't really, in that respect, I would say this: don't listen to it. It's not relevant at all. It's just somebody else's rules. And if they're any good, this is the thing about artists. If you find a good artist, they may give you feedback, they may not, but they'll know that you could never fail. They'll know, because they'll apply the same thinking to their approach. But as I say, it's the bottom line is, be careful who you listen to. Take what you need and use it and apply it if necessary. But remember, this is your voice, and you are in charge of this, because it's one of those things. I mean, I talk about this a lot with the students. It's like, this is the only time that you're in full control of your world, when you're doing this. When the rest of the time, somebody else is in control, whether it's your boss or your wife or whatever. Somebody else is in control. So this is the only time that you're in full control of everything that's going on in the moment. So that's such a, you got to embrace that. Obviously, it's such a liberation to do that. I kind of slip into a different place when I'm doing this, and it's and I think that's probably my part of my addiction to this, because I mean, I genuinely think I'm addicted to doing it. So I don't know. I don't know how that sort of fits, but if I don't do, like I've had to do this today, we've been out. It's a Saturday, so it's shopping day and all that sort of thing. But I still have to do a drawing, regardless. So so it is an addiction. But at the same time, it's such a stimulating thing. I can't think that there's anything else in my life that is so rewarding and fulfilling. So I'm kind of in that place where I'm going to let everything occur. I'm going to throw everything at it. Fail, whether it fails or not, I don't care. What if you want to call it failure? Whatever happens, I'm gonna just go at it, and it'll work and it won't. It's as simple as that. And often it doesn't. But that's okay. I'm cool with that as well. So, but as I say, I'm probably unique in the sense that it's because of my age. I think that's what it is. I think you get fairly relaxed, should we say, about this kind of thing when you get older. But going back to what I'm saying about don't listen to me. I don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. Just take what you need and channel it through your own approach to this. The people, you get wrapped up in the technology, the technique of getting the eyes in the right place, or the measurements. You get wrapped up in all that kind of stuff, and if you're not careful, that's all it becomes about. So you lose the other bit, the fun bit will get lost amongst the how you must do it bit, and that's basically listening to other people, because and sometimes it's not verbal. Sometimes it can be, look how great I've won the Artist of the Year thing, and therefore I'm brilliant and you're not. It's that kind of thing. So you're going to get subliminal instructions as well. That this is the definition of what a portrait should be and all the rest of it. You're going to get all that. So be careful. The thing about being a creative is that we have antennae that work all the time, that detect and pick up, frequencies of all kinds of things. And so you got to be careful. This is the cultural exposure thing. You got to be careful what you expose yourself to and all the rest of it. And that happens when we're doing this. So you will see people doing drawings and incredible drawings, and because of their popularity, because of their their status or whatever else, it will affect your reception and your antennae. So the problem is, when I initially, when I started doing this, and I'll tell the students the same thing, is don't look at anything. Don't look at anything. Don't look at anything until you're prepared to actually be objective about what you see. Because if you can't, if it's just about, it's a wonderful drawing, look at the great skill, then you're going to just be completely skewed. And the problem is, once you've set the path of it's about this and I have to do it like this, once you've set that path, that becomes your creative path. And it's very difficult to break out. And if you want to know how this works, and if you've ever seen anybody, you'll often see professional, sometimes artists that will say, I'd like to work with a much looser style. You hear that, and that's because they began their path in the wrong way. And that's, as I said, if you're learning to do this, be careful how you start. Be careful who you listen to, and be careful how you start, because you don't really want to be on the wrong path. And then find out 10 years down the line that it wasn't really about how well I could render the flesh, render the skin tones. It wasn't really about that. It was never about that. But you could, and it's hard. And then there's the style thing. I'm influenced by that style, so I'm gonna try and paint in that style. All these things are self-expression. They are expression through proxy. So it's somebody else's expression which you're trying to adapt to yours because you like the way it looks, or worse still, because that's going to sell. And that, and I get all those sort of things I get all the time, that I'm going to do it to make money out of it or whatever. If you're doing this to make money, forget it. You never make money out of drawing and painting portraits. So that's just put that out the window, because it's not going to happen. But what that means is that you can do what you like, because it's not the way you're going to feed your kids. It's just going to be something that hopefully you'll be able to bring into reality and basically fulfill this desire that you've got, which is the ultimate. I think all artists have a desire to create and manifest their abilities, or whatever you want to call it, creativity, I suppose, to manifest their creativity. That's what we've all got. But it's the idea of making money out of it is. I mean, I tried that. That's one of the reasons when I first started. In '89, whatever it was, when I stopped, but I started to consider being an artist, and at that point, I suddenly realised I was never going to make any money at it. But it was a hard lesson to learn. But after that, as I said, coming back to it and not wanting to do that, what a freedom! What a freedom it was to suddenly, have this carefree attitude to it. And you can see it in everything. You can see it in everything I do. You can see it in the marks. You can see it in the way that I approach a drawing. You can see it in all those things. So anyway, I'm going to pack in now because I'm just rambling on, and I'm going to straighten everything up on this, and and just get the sizes right, and sort the tones. Somebody said on about tone, by the way. Somebody said about not all images are contrasted. Dead right, they're not. So fix it. Photoshop everything. That's what I do. The problem is that with a lot of images, you don't get the contrast that you can see the shapes clearly. So I've always taken them into Photoshop. Well, not Photoshop, into GIMP, and unfortunate name. I always take them into GIMP and sort out the levels. But once you've got it to be a nice sort of structured image, it's so much easier to draw. And that's the bottom line, really. I wanted to capture the essence of this face. I don't want to get into details about the eyelashes are like this and this is. I want to capture the essence. It's not really about whether or not I've got the eyelashes in the right place. It's about something a lot more than that. The shapes define the likeness, and the marks define the essence. So it's like you got to get there. You haven't got to get to the point where I'm technically getting this spot on, because that happens. This is the evolution of what I talk about sometimes, but it happens. It doesn't happen with those first precise marks. It doesn't happen with those things. And the thing about, I know I'm rambling on again, but the thing about charcoal is that it is so forgiving. It's so forgiving, and it's also helpful as well, because that's the thing. If you want, people say, "Oh, can I do this on an iPad, or can I do this on in pencil, graphite?" Yeah, you can, but you're missing on something that's just a wonderful experience, which is charcoal, because it does so many things to help you. It does. It's like the marks can be smudged or pushed or whatever, as you're figuring out where everything is, and all of a sudden it makes, like on the beard on that old man, and all of a sudden it makes marks that you didn't intend to make. I'm not sure you can do that with an iPad, and I'm not sure you can do that with graphite. I think you have to work to get the levels of tone, for instance, in graphite. You have to work hard to get it to be this dark. So in the working hard bit, there's no room for serendipitous marks, for marks that you didn't intend to make, because they're all very tiny marks. And the other thing as well is that about charcoal is you can work with a big fat piece of charcoal, and the fatter the better. Particularly if you're learning to draw, you get the biggest piece of charcoal you can get, and the smallest piece of paper, and you'll be amazed at what it does to your drawing. I mean, this is a thing about. I know I'm telling you not to listen to me, but I'm just going to tell you what happened when I started as a visualizer in the early 80s, late 70s and early 80s. The guys in the studio wanted me to, and I was just a tea lad, office boy thing, but you didn't get to be a graphic designer straight away. You just got to work through the ranks. So I was a visualizer, and they wanted me to visualize something really quick using magic markers, which are big, fat, ugly things. And you quickly learn to draw. I mean, this is not really a good example, but this is the kind of thing we used to do, which is like, it's rubbish, but you know what I mean? It's like stuff for commercial use, and there are other things as well. But you quickly learned to use a big marks to define a an eye, or define a body, or define a hand. I mean, 2 or 3 marks. I'm trying to find another example. I can't find. But that was because they said use the biggest tool you can find, and you don't mess about with the little funny little marks that don't really matter. You were able to quickly tick in, as we called it at the time, an image, a face, a person sat at a bar, which was a common one when we used to work for a drinks manufacturer. So that's what I'm saying with the drawing. Get something big and ugly and draw with that. So you're not faffing around with a pencil, because you'll be locked into some production aspect of it, and before you know it. And that's again one of these problems of this is how to do it. This is how to do it with pencil and all the rest of it. You want to learn to draw first. You want to learn to draw before you do anything. Before you start picking watercolor, oils, whatever else. Drawing is the key to everything, and observation is the key to drawing. So I mean, it's not hard to do those things, but it is if you're listening to other people like me banging on about, hey, this is how you should do it. This is, but I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just telling you that you got to let yourself be in charge of what you're doing. So like I said, I'm gonna finish now, because I need to tighten this up, sort that out, and then just just finish it off. So right, I'll lovely leave you, and I'll catch you in the next one. 30 minutes, that's not bad, is it? It's not far off, but it's not near enough, if that's what I want to say. And hopefully the mic was better. Hopefully the camera was better as well. So I'll catch you later.